Okay, so we're going to try to go over the essay question with you. And I'm going to view it as a student. I'm not going to actually type out an answer, but I will tell you things, and you should probably write them in your journal. And as you hear me talk about the stuff, you can write it in your journal. Now, the key thing is you've got 3 tabs up here with information in them. On the actual KSA science test, you'll probably have more than 3. You'll have at least, unless they change the test, which they need to, you'll probably have as many as 5 different tabs with information. Probably all of those tabs are necessary to adequately answer the essay question at the end. I think they need to simplify the test to make it more straightforward for students, but I don't know if they will or not. And I can tell you why that they think they need to in a minute, but anyway. So when you get to the essay question, and again, you can actually go through the questions. You can go through all the questions. You can actually play the audio of the question. Like you can have it read to you. And if you need to use that, then by all means, get some headphones and listen. And it might help you, even if you can read, it might help you to hear the questions read to you. Again, now what you've got here is this is the essay question. This is the one I'm going to go over. And I'm going to, again, sort of highlight some things as I talk about them. You can highlight things from, and some of you are using that. These passages are highlightable, so you can highlight things to use later, or you can go through them and highlight them and then refer back to them. You've got highlighting tools to do that within the software, within the test software. So it says, what can you claim as a conclusion about the relationships between carbon dioxide levels, right? So we got carbon dioxide levels, right? The atmosphere, average temperature, and global average sea levels based on the investigation data. So you've got 3 things there. You've got carbon dioxide, average temperature, global average sea levels. And again, it's based on the research and investigation data. So that's both the research, meaning the historic data model that you've been given at the very first part, right? So we look at these 3 things. We've got the historic data, right? And the way that these peaks, these data points, the way this line peaks, for, say, the carbon dioxide level and temperature, and the way that it peaks or valleys or bottoms out for the ice coverage, right? So you've got all that data there that you can pull from. You've got the carbon dioxide, and then you've got, this one is temperature, sea level, and ice. This one is carbon dioxide and temperature. So you got temperature on one side, carbon dioxide numbers on the other, and the temperature fluctuations up and down. So then you've got also carbon dioxide investigation data. All right, and you've got so you need to use information from this as well, right? So the actual data that shows, for instance, that the higher the CO2 is in these situations, the hotter the bottle will get, right? And you can use specifics from the graph, right? You can reference the graph, or you can reference the numbers from the data table. But you need to use something from this investigation to support your claim, something specific. Right, so that the more CO2 there was, the higher the temperature was able to get, and the fastest, something to that effect. And then you've got also let's go back to the top. This kind of makes what the science test really hard for everybody, is the fact that you have to go back and forth and pull information in from these multiple sources. The social studies test, I don't think, is quite as complex, but the science test is basically a reading and writing test about science, is what it is, more or less, right now. And a thinking and reasoning test based on what information you are able to read and understand. So the science, again, this is sea level rise investigation. So this is the thing we did with the plastic cups to simulate the different conditions where ice was placed either on the land or in the sea and then allowed to melt. So we did this together, but you need to pull information from the outcome of that, right? And so you have to kind of think, like, what is it they need? Now, I should have included data from that, and I don't think I did. So I need to go back before the exam and include data from that. But hopefully you can remember the outcome was that the more the sea level rose in the case when you had land ice melting, it didn't really rise at all when you had the sea ice melting. It didn't add to it. And it might have actually taken away from it when the sea ice melted. I think that was probably just evaporation from the weekend. But if you can remember what we did, I'm going to put some data in there. I just realized that part got left out, so I will edit that probably even as you're redoing it, I'll edit that and put some data in there. The outcome of the sea level rise investigation, I'll put some information, the students' observations in there, the ones that we put up there. I thought I had it in there. I don't know where it went. So when you use information from each of those things, right? So you have to use information from each of those in your explanation. So you state your claim. I think that this is the connection. Some of you did a really good job on stating the claim. That is, you used words from the prompt, words from the actual things you were given. You used your own words too, and you sort of stated a claim very clearly. You did really well on that part, but then you didn't really. Some of you just kind of trailed off on this part. Some of you did really well altogether. So, but I think hopefully this helps you to understand. Like you take things from each of those. Something from each of those and try to explain it. If you do that, then you will not get a novice on a science test. And the goal is to not get novice. And I'll show you why right now. So this is why. The why is because if you go to the school report card and if you are able to finally find, it's not impossible to find this. It's already changed it on me. Like they're actually hiding things from us, I think, on purpose. I can't tell if it's by incompetence or by willful, like trying to conceal things, but it's getting really hard. It's really hard to find the data. I had to search for it for a long time. So you have to go through a bunch of hoops to ever finally get to the science data, explore the data. And notice these are not like big plain things to see. And then even here, all you've got is reading and math, and you have to go over here to find the science and social studies data. Here's the science finally. And then you've got elementary school. Notice in elementary school, only 7% of students in elementary school were distinguished in science. 7%. Now, if 7% of elementary school kids got A's in science, we'd be really worried as a school, right? I don't think 7% of students are getting A's in science classes. Something's wrong. Okay, so middle school, look at the distinguished percentage now for science. It's 2%. Get ready. Here comes high school. 0% distinguished. 10% proficient last year. Now, I'm not going to point at everybody who was a junior last year who took this test and say, you failed it. 48% of the students who took the test last year scored a novice on the test. Okay, now I realize as an educator that there's something wrong with the test. Okay, the people apparently who are making these decisions in Frankfort aren't willing to admit that yet, or they're dragging their feet on this. They're trying to say it's, the instructional methods and there's been billions of dollars invested in probably producing, or probably at least millions, hundreds of millions of dollars invested in this science test so far. And again, part of the problem is it's insanely complicated to take a science test the way that they're structuring them with these multiple tabs. If you had everything laid out on the desk in front of you, the questions would still be hard to answer. But the fact that you have to scroll through multiple tabs to figure out what it is they're asking and what it is that you're asked to use to answer the question, it's just not something that most people are willing to do in a testing situation. So, but that's probably why. So I'm trying to show you basically how to not get novice, right? My goal for you, some of you will be proficient. No doubt about it. The writing I've seen so far, some of you will be proficient. I have every confidence that if we use this this method of taking tests, that some of you will be proficient. I hope some of you are distinguished, but I think that'll only happen if they simplify the test a lot because it's just way too complex. Again, you can be proficient or distinguished on one that I make. I've taught you this stuff in advance. I've given you, these are all things we've done, but stuff you've never seen before, new things, it's going to be really difficult. But I think my goal for you is to reduce the number of novice and more of you get proficient. That's the hope that I have for this year. So, but now I'll go over this one real quick. You as a student, I've changed this one a little bit. Again, I'm going to go to the last question. I'm going to make this fairly quick. I'm going to go, oops, I need to go back one. Okay, so that's not right. Where's the one? There it is. This writing question down here. So this one, for one thing, you might notice the numbers changed, right, in the calculations. So if you go to the microbeads claim evidence, there's some stuff about it. But if you go down here, you'll notice that the numbers changed in the microbeads. I did that on purpose, and that was so you'd have to do the calculation again. Some of you just went with the original numbers. If you did, you might have had the right idea, but you just have to redo the calculations a little bit. That's why you have a calculator on here. Right there, you have a calculator, so you can just do the calculations again with slightly different numbers, and you'll get slightly different numbers as an outcome. And notice I did say that this one was, what would the cost be for 10 years, not for 1 year? So if we estimate the cost of treating for 1 year to be whatever it is we found, then what would it be? And these actually should be in a different order. This one should be before that one. But I couldn't figure out how to, I can't figure out how to move the different parts around. I'll try to rewrite it for the exam. Once you know the mass of the microbeads, the need for treating the glacier, how would you determine the cost needed to treat it for just 1 year? I should add that to it. Well, the answer is you just multiply the mass by the cost. So if you put something like that, you'll get all the points. If you didn't understand what it was asking, it's basically multiply the mass that you have by the cost per a kilogram. You know the mass in kilograms times the cost per kilogram, and you get the total cost. So let's see. And I might, for instance, for the exam, I might actually change the cost per kilogram to like $1.50 per kilogram, because inflation. Maybe $2 per kilogram, who knows? So just keep that in mind. The last one here, let me just go over it real quick before we end. So this one, based on all the information you have available, and I'm going to try to add some more information about the environmental aspects or the ecosystems. You've got some questions here, right? How safe is it for migrating birds? What is this? What we'll get on the creel. So these are like environmental concerns. Some of these are more of a social concern, like the fact that people consider this land to be like sort of sacred land, like the natives who live there, I guess, consider this to be like a sacred site, the glacier. So that's more of a social concern. There might be some human health and safety concerns as well. So based on all the information, is the microbead solution worth the financial, social, and environmental costs to use on the Ilulissat Glacier? Explain your reasoning for your claim by presenting an argument using all the evidence used to make your decision. So, and again, you're going to want to pull from all the sources, the melt proposals to describe basically like what they do and what they are, information like, the fact that they float on water. There's nothing really in here about the berm. There is stuff presented about the berm, but I didn't ask you a question about that. If you want to put that forward as an alternative, that's fine. But I didn't really ask you any questions about the berm per se. I just included it in this. And you'll see stuff like that on the test. You'll see stuff that's included that you don't necessarily have to use. Here's the light, color, and temperature investigation. So pull from this, right? So to say that, this is how they work, right? So that they would actually lower the temperature. That is, they would basically cause less heating of the surface by reflecting more light. So it does work. Based on this information that you can cite something specific from this. The black paper got a lot hotter than the white paper. So the more reflective something is, the less it will heat up. That could be a claim. And then the cost and the social reasons as well in this one. Use information from all of that to support your claim. You probably like at least 3 sentences to just explain your reasoning. 1 sentence to state your claim, at least 3 or 4 sentences maybe to reason it out, and maybe more depending on how well you write or how clearly you write. You can write shorter, simpler sentences and just write more of them. All right, so that's the feedback on that. I've given you all individual feedback as well on your first attempts.